Howdy race fans, I am StockCar Scott, and this is my little show about racing I like to call In the Pits. And In the Pits is now brought to you thanks to the generous sponsorship of Monte Carlo Express Delivery. Monte Carlo Express Delivery, serving the courier needs of the Seattle area for the last decade. Please like us on Facebook. Well, let's jump right into last weekend's racing. Starting with Friday, we had a lot of coverage of practice and qualifying for NASCAR there at Pocono. Some of it was on Fox Sports 1, and some of it was on that Phantom channel nobody can find, Fox Sports 2. And while they were on Fox Sports 2, something happened with John West Townley. He had a really nasty wreck, and nobody saw it because it was on Fox Sports 2, but Facebook lit up when word got out that he had been hospitalized after a really nasty wreck in the tunnel turn. Everyone wanted to know what was going on with John West Townley, if he was okay. Well, luckily, before the morning was out, we were able to see footage of him getting onto a helicopter as they were walking onto a helicopter as they were getting ready to send him out to be hospitalized. But he was okay. He probably got knocked out, so they didn't let him race last weekend. His car was trashed, his ARCA car, so they got somebody else into that Zaxby's Toyota, and then also his truck, someone else had to drive it in the truck race, and they got Clint Boyer to drive that. Well, a little bit more practice on Fox Sports 1, and then I went and did a little work. You know, I'm a courier, so I had a chance to go out and do a few courier jobs, and then still make it back in time for NASCAR 3-round knockout qualifying. And I tell you folks, it just shows me that I have really a great life. I'm not bragging or anything, I'm just thankful that I can be my own boss, set my own hours, and be able to watch the racing that I want to watch when I want to watch it. So, when I got back home, the 3-round knockout qualifying was on, and it was really good. But on the pole ended up to be that new wonder kid, Kyle Larson, in the number 42 Target Chevy that's owned by Chip Ganassi. And on the outside pole was another youngin', that Joker Logano, as I like to call him, in the number 22 Penske Shell Ford. Now, a little bit further back was my favorite guy, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he had a bit of a new sponsor on his car. It was still the National Guard car, but there's a fellow named Michael Baker that has something to do with financial planning for people in the National Guard, and they gave him a plug, let him put his name on the car. So Junior started out 9th. That's how he did in qualifying, and then beside him was Danica Patrick. Always got to talk about her, get her in. But then right after qualifying, the clouds unzipped. I told you last week that there's probably going to be some rain at Pocono. It's just that kind of place. So it rained for just a little bit, got the track good and wet. But these new track dryers that they have in NASCAR are fantastic, folks. They got the track. Pocono is a big 2.5 mile triangle track. They were able to get all the water off of it in a matter of about an hour, and were still able to get the whole ARCA race in before sundown. And then it didn't rain again. Rain did not interrupt racing again at Pocono all weekend, and that is quite unique. Now, in the ARCA race on Friday, which started nice and early, and it was nice that I could get off to watch it this time, Mason Mitchell, who I've been talking a lot about over the past couple of weeks, he was on the pole for that race, and that earned him a couple of extra points in the way that they do things in ARCA, and that went ahead and put him ahead of Grant Enfinger, who started 6th. And Grant Enfinger ended up making things even worse for himself. Lap 14, he got himself into a big wreck with Frank Kimmel, and of course by the end of the race he had lost a lot of points to Mason Mitchell and fell back. The winner of the race, I was quite pleased, fell in a number 88 Havaco Sales Ford. And the reason I'm quite thrilled is this fellow's name is Justin Allison. And yes, he is an Allison. He is Donnie Allison's grandson. So that makes him Bobby Allison's great-grandson. Now, he's not from Alabama. I mean, excuse me, great-nephew, his grandnephew. Anyway, so even though he's not really from Alabama, his parents are from Alabama, but because so much racing goes on, the hub of racing is in North Carolina. That's actually where he's from. But he's still an Allison, folks, and he's carrying on the Allison tradition by winning. And he won there Friday afternoon at Pocono in that 125-mile race that they had there. He didn't, he took the lead late in the race, but he still had a strong car in which he started 5th. Now, second place was another familiar ARCA name, the fella in the number 69 Messina Ford, Will Kimmel. And yes, he is related to Frank Kimmel. He is his nephew. So as you see, you've got a lot of nepotism going on this weekend there. So, the next big race that happened this past weekend was on Saturday morning. The trucks raced 150 miles, 60 laps, which is still kind of a short race there for the trucks. Now, on the pole, they had the qualifying early in the morning and then truck race later. And again, the Wonder Kid earned the pole, this time in the number 32 Turner Scott Motorsports Chevy. And they, of course, put him in that race so he could get some extra practice there at Pocono. Also in the race for extra practice was the number 3 of Austin Dillon, who sat on the outside pole in his Pop Pop's truck there. The 15th starter was my favorite truck driver here lately, Bubba Wallace, in his Kyle Busch towed Toyota, but hey, I'm not going to hold that against him. He's from Alabama. But anyway, like I said, it was a short race and only 60 laps, 150 miles, and the race for the most part was between those two Cup drivers, Austin Dillon and Kyle Larson. Back and forth, Dillon, Larson, Larson, Dillon, until about 2/3 the way through the race, and then Larson broke something on his truck. That kid is hard on equipment, especially when he's running trucks. I've seen him break quite a few of them. But he went in the pits. Dillon held off the remainder of the field, and despite several late race cautions and a couple of restarts, Dillon was able to hang on and win that truck race. The highest placing truck regular is a fella named Johnny Sauter, and my favorite, Bubba Wallace, Darrell Wallace Jr., finished 8th. And the point leader of the truck series, Ryan Blaney, son of Dave Blaney, finished 5th. So that kept him in the lead of the points. Now, they had a really nice little vignette before the truck race on the setup there about Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney and their friendship, and it was really nice because they were skateboarding together and having fun and all sorts of stuff. And it just made me think about, let me tell you about my best friend. Yeah, that's what they are. And my best friend's here with me tonight. Nick's helping me out with the show again. There you go. So, on to more racing. Nationwide racing also happened on Saturday, but instead of being at Pocono, it was at Iowa. I've told you about Iowa. It's a 7/8 mile speed palace built by Rusty Wallace. And first they had qualifying on, and I didn't really think I was going to watch qualifying at first because we needed to get down to South Sound and go see some racing down there. But we had a little bit of a thunderstorm roll through Seattle, and the thunder scared our cats so bad that they went and hid, and we couldn't find them, and I didn't really want to leave the house until after we found the cats. So my wife looked for the cats, I watched qualifying, and I got to see Trevor Bayne, end up on the pole there for the nationwide race. Chase Elliott was third, and old bad Brad Keselowski, he was the only one from the Cup Series that visited down to Iowa to run in that race, and he started second on the outside. And he put a whooping on him, folks. Yeah, Brad came down there. He didn't lead every lap. He led a whole bunch. Some of the laps were led by Trevor Bayne. Also, Sam Hornish Jr. had a really strong car running Kyle Busch's number 54 monster car. But he just put a whooping on him, folks. And of course, I didn't get to see that until Monday, because I had to watch it later on recording, because Saturday night we went down to South Sound because they had more racing than you could shake a stick at. 5 different divisions. They were really divisions that I like to go see. So we decided to head on down there. I followed the race, of course, on my phone. But on the way down to South Sound, I stopped at one of my little favorite shops there at Love's. It's a gas station there in Fife. Picked up this new shirt here. Looks real nice there. But anyway, I got that shirt on the way down, and then after the race on the way back, we stopped at the Walmart there in Lacey, and I got me another junior shirt that you might get to see sometime. But Saturday night, racing at South Sound, 5 different divisions for the Rumble in Rochester. And as you can tell by the video footage that I've posted on my YouTube channel, I'm real interested in 4 of those divisions. But one of them, Bumblebees, that's when I take my time to do other things, like go pick up snacks or go out to the car and pick up a hoodie, or because it got kind of cold during the evening. But hey, we can't like every class of our division of racing. And I still like that they get out there. They put on a pretty good show. One of the things I really like, though, at South Sound is how they qualify. They have kind of I don't know what else to call it, from when I was a kid and used to go to the skating rink and everybody could go out and skate at all the same time. All skate. Well, that's what I call the new version of qualifying down there. They just let everyone go out on the track for about 15 minutes or so, and whoever comes up with the fastest time, that's who starts, who gets the pole. And then, of course, they do an invert. Now, fastest time this weekend was set by the number 17 of Cody Erskine's for the street stock division, which was the highest class that they ran this past weekend. Now, after qualifying, they had their heat races. There were 2 divisions that only had 1 heat race because they had kind of a low car count. But the other 3 divisions had enough for a couple of heats apiece. Now, in one of the heat races, one of my favorite drivers, the number 36 Mustang mini stock of Kevin Conway, got to the lead early and led and won his mini stock heat there. And I was real happy for him. He even threw in an extra donut there for everybody at the end of the heat race. Had a couple of other interesting heat races, but we'll jump right on ahead to the mains. Now, the first main was a truncated hobby stock race. It was shortened because of a couple of really nasty wrecks that took out about a third of the field, so they cut the race down by about a third. It was originally supposed to have been 30 laps, but after 3 or 4 cars got wrecked out, they went ahead and cut it down to 20. It was still a real interesting race, and it was won by David Knittel, who was able to hang on after all the other wrecking carnage. So congratulations, Dave. He's one of my Facebook friends. All right. During the Bumblebees, which was next, like I said, nature calls. Had to go out and get hoodies for me and my wife. So that's the way it goes for Bumblebees. I don't know who won, but it sounded like they were having fun out there. The next main was the mini stock 40 lap main, and my favorite driver of the race of the night there won by leading every lap, and that is the Warrior Kevin Conway in his number 36 Mustang mini stock. He whooped the field. Now, well, he stayed out in front of him the whole time, and there was lots of good racing behind him, folks. It was like everybody came up through the field and got up to his back bumper at one time or another. And right there at the last lap, Dennis Schaefer in that funny looking PT Cruiser, he got almost past Kevin there at the last lap, maybe another lap, and he might have got past him, but it was 40 laps. That's all there was. Kevin led every one of them, and it was his race to lose. He held his line, kept to the inside there when he could, took care of his car, took care of his tires, all of his equipment. Great win, Kevin. I was glad to see you do it.
Right on.
One thing, I was sad to see Tina McMillan have her trouble. She's another one of my favorite mini stock drivers. She got into a little bit of nastiness back there in the back stretch, but Kevin, you're the man. I love those donuts at the end of the main there. Those were quite nice. And yee! Go get you a sandwich, boy. Okay, the next race up was Super 4 late models, and this is a class that from what I understand, it came from old foreign racing guys that used to race foreign cars like Audis and Volvos and Volkswagens and stuff like that. Well, they've got a 60 lap main going on, and now what they race are 4 cylinders in late model cars. So you have some pretty strange hybrids out there, like some VW motors in Chevrolets and Ford motors in Chevrolets. There are some Fords with Fords, because most of what they do run are the 4-cylinder VWs and the 4-cylinder Ford engines. Now, that race went 60 laps, and most of the racing during the early part of the race was between the number 35, who I did not catch who that was, and number 10, who was John Grosseverter. I know I killed that name, so I'll have to get me a drink here.
Folks,
sorry about that, John.
Folks, you're watching In the Pits with StockCar Scott.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, let's try John Grosseverter.
Very good.
Anyway, he's from Puyallup, and he won there in the number 10, which looks like Chevy, but I think it had a Ford motor underneath. Second place was the number 19 of Caleb Pittman from Fedway, and then Jim Coster in the number 6 was third. Now, the last main of the evening was that big 75 lap rumble in Rochester, starring the street stocks, and it was a pretty big field. Like I told you before, Cody Erskine in the number 17 had set fast time, but he got kind of buried in his heat races. So the front row, the fella that started up front was in the number 25. That's Derek Canaston. I hope I said that right, Derek. Get me on Facebook if I didn't. But he started on the front row and led a lot of the early laps, so first 10 or so, 10, 11. But with the cautions that happened there early and some of the restarts, this helped the number 56 of Brian Bykirk to move his car forward. And by, the first dozen laps or so, Brian got him a real nice break, being able to pass Derek on the outside there. Got around him a little bit in 2 and then stretched it out in the back stretch by 3 and 4. He had gotten around Derek, and that way Brian got in the lead, and he would maintain the lead for the rest of the race. Now, of course, there'd be several challenges by other cars like Anthony Choo Barbera in the number 41, and of course the highlighted driver of the week in the program that I bought, the number 33 there of Mike Carlson. All right, Mike. But Brian went on to take that number 56 Chevy of his and win the Rumble. So congratulations, Brian.
Woo!
Good show. Now, after the race was a real treat for StockCar Scott. I went in the pits for interviews with some of the winners, and if you check out my channel on YouTube, you'll see the 2 interviews that I did with Brian and Kevin there on that channel. And I really like to extra shout out, thank you very much to Brian. That was the first interview I'd ever done. I'm sure you could tell it. And of course Kevin, his interview was a lot of fun also. Aye! Okay, next week, folks, there at South Sound Speedway is the Miller 200. It's a big late model race. Usually down there they only have, for the regular races, maybe 10, 12, 15 late models. But this, with the regulars like Tom Sweatman or Tommy Yastone, Kelly Mann, Parker Stevens, Schultz's, you know, they usually come down there. But for the Miller 200, we're going to have a lot of other drivers coming in. It's going to be a big car count. We're going to have drivers like Tom Moriarty, Molly Helmet coming in. So be a big, respectable car count. Go see it, folks. It'll be a really good race. I haven't missed one in a few years. I always try to make the Miller 200. I think the last time I missed a Miller 200 was for a wedding or something, as I recall.
And Molly Helmet is better looking than Danica Patrick. I'm just saying.
Recall reminds me. You know, it reminds me of a joke. I know I'm a loyal Chevy fan, but also love a good joke. So, what did the Ford say to the GM? I don't recall. Okay, race fans. Well, the last race to cover is, of course, Pocono, the Cup race, and I'm still having a bit of trouble. StockCar Scott's still a little bit heartsick about having missed the end of the race there and missing Junior leading the last 16 laps to sweep Pocono and get his 3rd win of the season. And I did get to see the first half of the race. I got to see a couple of the really good parts, like when Kyle the Toad blowed, you know, and had to turn it into the pit. So that was great. And of course Jimmy Johnson wrecked early and often, and things like that. But then I had to go on, so I didn't get to see the end of the race. Didn't get to see Denny Hamlin set off the big one and get out of it almost, I hate the phrase scot-free, but without a scratch almost. So instead, I went out, helped my friend. He needed a little support, a little favor. So I was able to leave that part of the race behind. There you go. And help my friend Nick here, because he deserves it. And I thought that I'd be able to just follow along with the race on the radio. Silly me. You know, I did have it on my phone, have the NASCAR.com thing open, so I was able to see when Junior won, and I was able to go over to Nick right after that and give him the stink eye, and, you know, but the one thing I wasn't able to do was listen to it on the radio. The channel that is regularly on, that the races usually come on up in Everett, they were playing some boat races or something, I think, was going on, but it was just really disappointing. And another disappointing aspect was, even after I had heard that Junior had won, had seen it on the NASCAR.com, the local news station that has sports every half hour on the 10s and 40s didn't say a word about it.
Not a word.
Junior, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the most popular driver in NASCAR, sweeps Pocono.
Not a word.
Not a word, folks. So that's why I do this show, is because I don't feel there's enough NASCAR coverage, enough racing coverage up here. So here you go. It's one of the reasons why I do this. But the most important thing Sunday was Junior swept. Junior's got 3 wins now. And Junior, if the chase started tomorrow, he'd be the top seed.
Woohoo!
So I'm looking for just better and better things to be happening for Junior. as the season goes on. 5 more races until the chase, folks. Oh, Junior wins! Junior wins! Junior wins! Oh, I had to get that out of me. I'm sorry, but it's just, you know, it happened a lot more this year. But you know, there's been some lean years, so it's good to see Junior win. Okay, on to next week. Oh, one more item this week. Kent had drag racing. The NHRA was there, and I don't really follow it, but I did happen to hear that John Force won his race, so I'm sure that's another notch on his record and his resume of things that he's done over the years. And also, I heard they had some sort of boat races here in Seattle, but I don't know. If it ain't got wheels, I don't pay attention. So, next week, NASCAR. There's not going to be any truck racing, but both the other series in NASCAR, Nationwide and Cup, will be on ESPN. Thank you, Nick. Yeah. But anyway, both of them will be on ESPN at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen's road course, folks. They'll be turning both ways, and it should be real interesting to watch. We might even get somebody surprise entry into the chase, like AJ Allmendinger or Marcus Ambrose, because they're real good on road courses. And in ARCA, there's going to be a short track race at a little place in Michigan called Berlin. That's owned by a retired NASCAR driver by the name of Johnny Benson. But I don't really expect to see it televised anywhere. And of course, like I said, next weekend, everyone, the Miller 200. Go there, be there. It's going to be the race to see. Join me. See the whole race. It's going to be 200 exciting laps. So, next week, join us here on In the Pits. Until then, see y'all at the races.